Hi, everyone. Good afternoon.
So,
Hello. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So we're just waiting for a few more people to join, and then we can start the session.
hello.
Hi, hi. Okay. So my name is Elmar. I go by El, and I am the customer support manager here at Pivo Real Estate, and I'm going to be your point of contact from now on. So if you have any after sales inquiries, if you need assistance with training, if you need assistance with,
Oh, are you there?
yes, I'm here.
Sorry to bother you, but I've got some agents trying to join. This is Cher, and it's not letting them. It's just showing them the booking thing. They never got the Zoom. What do they do?
Okay, so there's a Zoom link in the email invite that we sent you. You could just copy that or just forward the calendar invite to them, and then they can just click on the link.
Okay, let me go back to. Came on my calendar. Okay, where do I find the link? I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
in
looking
the
at.
description of the event.
Yeah, I've got the reminder. Really weird. Okay, then if I go to the calendar, and I'm sorry I interrupted y'all. Oh, I'll just copy this link and send
Yeah.
it to. I'll text it to them real quick. And if
Okay.
it'll let me copy it, oh shoot! Now it's not letting me copy. Anyway, okay, thank
Yeah,
you,
there's
and
no
I'll shut.
password on the meeting, so if you just send that link, I would get their names on the waiting room.
Okay, Holly, I'm going to have to email it to you because it's copied on my PC. Okay, thank you. All right, I'll try to mute myself. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So going back again, for those who joined late, my name is Elmar. I go by El, and like I said earlier, I'm going to be your point of contact from now on. So if you have any inquiries about hardware, if you have difficulty with some software features, then I'm the person that you would contact. So after the session, I'm going to be sending you a copy of the slides, and then my contact information would be in the first page, and I'll also put it in the body of the email. While we're waiting for Holly and them, do you have any like pre-webinar questions that I can answer?
So, Al,
Mm-hmm.
you said we contact you if we have any questions about software or technology. How do we contact you? By email, by phone?
Yeah, so on this screen that I'm sharing, you would find my email and
Got it.
my phone number. So one is toll free, and I'm extension 701. And that the support phone number is actually direct phone number of mine. So you can contact me in any of those channels.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I just got Holly. Okay, perfect. So now we can start.
Yeah, there's 4 people: Holly, Daniel, Solange, and Karen.
All right, I got Solange.
And I sent the link to them, and they're responding. Just got it. Okay, sorry.
All right, I have Solange, Daniel, and Holly. Are we waiting for one more person?
Well, Karen, but if she doesn't respond, she responded yesterday, but let me see if she's responding to the text.
Okay.
She's with a client right now.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then go forward, Captain.
I'm recording this video anyway. I'm recording this class. So if needed, I can just forward it to her.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So first, to answer your question, yes, we will be discussing all of the apps later on, and I'll give you time to download it before we proceed to the next session or the next topic. All right. So before we proceed, who amongst everyone that is here have already played with their Pivo Pods? Or
I did.
The first time you did? Okay. And so which apps have you already tried?
I just downloaded Pivo Plus,
Uh-huh.
and I was able to connect
Perfect.
and walk in my room and change the mode from face to body.
Okay, perfect. Alrighty. So this session is going to be the 101. So it's the basic of the basics. So on this session, we'll be discussing the Pivo Pod, what Pivo Pod is, what it can do, and then the three different apps. And we'll dive into a little bit. And then we have advanced sessions during Wednesdays. So actually, we're moving the Pivo one-on-one starting next week. We're moving it to we're moving it to Tuesday if you want to join it again. And then Tuesday is going to be the advanced session. So we do advanced sessions for Pivo Plus, Pivo Play, and Pivo Tour. And if you want to join that, I can invite you for next week. Just put in your email here in the chat box and I'll send you an invite. All right. So Kelly, you asked about the 7 different apps and played with some of it. There's actually uh there's a change of apps. So from 7, we now only have 3. And I'll discuss that in a bit. All right. So thank you. I'm seeing your email now. So let's go ahead and proceed. Okay, so we'll start with what Pivo Pod is. So it's basically just like a motorized rotating smartphone mount. It's like those ones that you can purchase from Amazon, but the difference is it comes with 3 independent apps. So Kelly mentioned or asked earlier about 7 different apps, and if you purchase the pod from like the conference or any meetings, then you were probably told that there were 7 different apps that comes with the Pivo Pod. But in order for you not to manage all 7 different apps and to take up a lot of storage in your smartphone, our engineers thought that maybe it would be easier to combine some of them into just 3 different apps. So now you don't have to download the Pivo Cast, the Pivo Present, Pivo Live, and Cast. So there's only 3 apps now. And these are the apps that you would need to download. So we have Pivo Play, Pivo Plus, and Pivo Tour. All other apps that you've already downloaded, you can remove because some of the apps and features that I'll be discussing it in a bit have been combined into these 3 apps. All right. So before we proceed to the apps, let's talk about the hardware first. If you purchase the Pivo Real Estate bundle, you should have all 5 of these accessories. So you should have one big travel case that holds all of these accessories. You have the actual Pivo Pod, and then you have the remote control, you have the tripod, and you have the smart mount. And if you are asking what this smart mount is or what this thing is, it's actually a replacement for the panoramic mount that came with your Pivo Pod. So essentially, with the smart mount, you're able to do a little more flexible filming. So you can do left. You could actually put your phone standing up. You could put your phone sideways, and then you could also do angles. So you can tilt your phone forward like that, and then you could do like overhead filming. You could do underhead filming. So good use case for this is if you want to take videos of the countertop, you want to take videos of like the outside, the planters and all that, then you can use the Pivo Smart Mount to angle. And then another use case is if you have a thicker phone case. So basically the panoramic mount only opens up to 15 millimeters. So if your phone case is a little bit thicker and you don't want to remove that, then you could use the smart mount in replacement. So I'm just going to play a quick little video just to show you how to replace the panoramic mount and exchange it with the smart mount. Okay, so you would just hold on to the rotating mechanism. You would rotate the actual mount counterclockwise, would put in the mount on the thread, and then you could adjust it however you want to film. And then you could do forward bending, you could do underhead, and then you could tilt it in any direction. Okay, any questions about the smart mount? All good? Okay. All right, so before we proceed, I'd like to... Okay, at the bottom of your Pivo Pod, there are actually feet that you could extend. So I would just like to mention this because I don't think this was ever mentioned during the conference. So if you look at the bottom of your Pivo Pod, you would see three little prongs there. So these are actually for extra security added for your Pivo Pod. So essentially, your Pivo Pod is covered with 1-year warranty. So if there are any damage, if there are anything that like the top pop up or it doesn't charge anymore, we could definitely replace it as long as it's still within 1 year. However, since you're using this with your smartphone, the smartphone isn't covered. So just for added security, we added the prongs here at the bottom. So it's basically just like an extended stabilizer. So when you're using your Pivo Pod without the tripod, you could extend the feet. If you're just putting it on a countertop, if you're filming outside and it's a little windy, and if you have your thicker and heavier phone case or heavier phone, just extend his feet when you're using it and just push it back when you're done. All right, proceeding. So that was the smart mount. And then just the very basic, turning on the Pivo Pod, you would actually press on the power button, playing a video here again. So you would press on the power button. It's behind the Pivo logo. It's that circular button with like black circle. So basically what you're going to do is press onto that button for at least 3 seconds or until you hear a beep. And once it's turned on, you will see the blue light blinking. That means it's turned on and ready to use. So the video that I've attached is not playing. But do you have any questions about how to?
No.
No? All good? All right. So let's skip that. And then turning it up. Okay. Now it played. All right. So it's that button here. So you press and hold. You're not pressing it just once. You're pressing and holding for 3 seconds. And then you would start to see the blue light blinking. And then it means it's ready to pair. And turning it off is same process. You would press and hold until you don't see a light anymore. And Pivo actually has, to protect its shelf life, there's an idle time of 5 minutes and it would automatically turn off when there's no activities. So you don't have to worry about like forgetting to turn it off. Pivo Pod automatically does that. As long as you're not connected to any apps, you're not using it, it's not paired to any phone, then it's gonna automatically shut down. And remote control. So now we're gonna talk about the remote control because the remote control actually is a very essential accessory for Pivo Pod. So basically with the remote control, depending on which app you're using, you can use it for a lot of things. So if we're talking about Pivo Plus, you can use this to start and stop video recording. You can also use this to capture pictures. So on Pivo Plus, there's a feature there called photo mode. What it does is basically allow you to take pictures without you relying on timer. So you can just click on it, basically like a prompter when using Pivo Plus. So you can click on that plus sign in the middle and take as many pictures as you want. And you can position yourself however you want, especially if you're in a group setting. The 10-second timer is not enough to like position yourself with other people in the frame. So what we basically did is we attach the prompter, the remote control with Pivo Plus, and you can take pictures that way. So before we proceed, let's go ahead. If you haven't yet, let's go ahead and pair your remote control with your Pivo Pod. So if you have your devices with you, please pull it out and then follow along. So you would want to turn on your Pivo Pod first. Based on the slides earlier, you would press onto the power button for at least 3 seconds until it's on. Then let me play this video. Okay, so after it's on, you would press onto the power button again, but this time you're not holding it. You would press on it 3 times as fast as you can. And then once you press it 3 times as fast as you can, you would start to see the white light blinking. So instead of blue, it's going to show white. So you would have to wait until it's white before you can pair it. There. So the light should be white. So press on it 3 times as fast as you can. And then once you see the white light blinking, you press onto the plus sign on the remote control. And then it's paired. You would normally hear a beep once it's paired. And then to test whether or not they're already paired, you can press on the arrows inside the circle, the left and the right, and your pod should automatically rotate. Any questions?
Mine does not turn away from blue. The blue is blinking. And I try to push 3 times fast and continues to do the same. So I'm
Okay,
not sure.
so you probably need to push it a little more faster. So try and like count 1, 2, 3, and then a little more faster.
Yeah, I did that. Doesn't do it.
Elmar, I have a question when you're done.
Okay.
Turning. So it looks
It's turning.
like
Okay, so could you try 1, 2, 3? 1, 2, 3
on which? On the remote?
on
or-
the power button. So you would press it 1, 2, 3.
Okay, now it
1,
turned.
2, 3. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
So once it turns white, you could press on the plus button on the remote control, and you should start to hear a beep. That means they're paired. And then you could use these arrows on the remote control to turn the Pivo Pod. That means they are already paired when it's turning.
I do
Is
not
this-
see a beep, but when I press, I see a blue button on the remote blinking.
Right. So, and when you're pressing on the plus button, you should press and hold.
Yeah, I'm holding it.
And the light on the Pivo Pod should still be white. If it's not white anymore, then it's not ready to pair. So,
It's not white anymore. Okay,
okay,
let me
go through that process again. Press on it 3 times as fast as you can. There. And then press on the power button. The plus button on the remote control until you hear a beep. Sometimes there's no beep. In most cases, there will be, but just press and hold for about 10 seconds. And then to test whether or not they're already paired, just press on these little arrows going left and right. And your Pivo Pod should actually start rotating. That means they're already paired. They're already talking to each other. And Sherry, you had a question?
Yes, and I do apologize that my video is not working for some reason. Okay, I'm going to be done of the day. This connection that's into the Pivo Pod, the other end, that is this supposed to be plugged into a computer to charge it or what?
No.
Because it does not fit my iPhone, and I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be charging this or putting this in.
Did your pod came with like a little cord, like a short cord, USB?
Yeah, that's the cord I'm talking about, right?
Okay. So you can, if you don't have an adapter, so the adapter that it uses is the USB type, not the iPhone one, because iPhone one use USB-C. So if you don't have any Android adapters laying around somewhere, like from your old phones, then you can
Yeah,
definitely.
I've never had an Android, so
Oh, then you can connect it to your laptop. It could charge that way. Yes.
okay. Yeah, because I'm dead in the water, so it's got to charge before
Yeah.
I can.
Any port, any adapter that has a USB and has like can like produce power is good to go. Laptop is one example, but we would prefer you using like the adapter. But if you don't have one,
Well, not that I can find at the moment. I just moved
okay,
into a new
yeah,
house, so
laptop.
who
Could,
knows?
yes. Mhm.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, going back to you, Zelda. Are we good?
I did not hear any beep, but I tried right and left arrows, and my
It's pretty.
pod seemed
Sorry.
to be moving. So
Okay, perfect. Right. So sometimes it doesn't do the beeping. I'm not sure. Like, I really don't have any answer why it doesn't do that. But in most cases, it does. But if your pod is already turning when you press on these, then that means they're already connected. So one use case for this. So we basically made a remote control for the apps. But in cases where you don't have like you don't have your like the phone with you with the app installed, you have like an extra phone that you want to use to take videos like really really quick. You could actually just use just these two. Put your phone here, open your camera app, go on video, and then just rotate the Pivo Pod with just the remote control, just like what you did earlier. So you can press on the arrows here are manual clicking. So that means if you press on this one time, it would rotate 25 degrees. But if you continuously hold it and press it, the Pivo Pod will rotate continuously as long as you're still holding it. And then these arrows above, this is for when you're using just this two and your smartphone, no apps. This arrow here going up is to adjust the speed of the rotation of the Pivo Pod. So basically this thing, depending on your settings, can rotate 10 seconds per rotation. That's like the slowest. And it can go 4 seconds for rotation. So it can rotate really, really fast. And it can actually rotate really, really slow. And then the arrows here at the bottom is basically for one full rotation for one click. So if you press on this, Pivo Pod would automatically rotate 360 degrees without you pressing anything else.
which button? M?
This one here, the double arrows
Oh,
outside the circle.
Elmar, I don't know if you're looking at the chat. There's
Yeah,
a question.
I am.
Chat. Okay, very good, because Holly had a question.
Okay. Holly, actually an hour and a half, depending on that's what I said earlier, that we would prefer you to use an adapter because it charges faster. So laptop in like basically produces less power because it's supposed to like the ports are supposed to just power the laptop, not to charge anything on it. But since it still produces power, it would probably take about 2 hours if you're using the laptop to charge it. But if you're using an adapter, an hour and 15 minutes. And that's for 6 hours worth. Depending on your usage, it could last up to 10 hours. That's like heavy using. Like you created like 5 tours, you did like a lot of videos. But mine has been, because I only use it for webinar, not like for anything else. Mine has not been charged for 3 months now. So it depends on how much you use it. And then charging it is, an hour or so. And then it's charged. And you would actually know when it's fully charged because when it's low on battery, the light that was blue earlier would start blinking red. And when you're charging it, it would continue blinking red until the light disappears. If no light anymore, if the red light has disappeared, then that means your Pivo Pod is fully charged. So you would know when it's charged. Anything else on the charging?
Nope.
All right. And how about the remote control?
What's CM for?
It depends on the app that you're using. So the remote control and the Pivo Pod has different interface, the Pivo apps. So the is for mode resetting in Pivo Plus. So Pivo Plus is the actual camera app that has the auto tracking feature. So once it loses tracking you, you can press the M button to reset it. So Pivo Pod would rotate and look for the target again, which is you, and you can start from there. And then the pause button is for Pivo Play. This is for when you're creating like stitch of videos. Say, for instance, you've created a Pivo tour and then you wanted to do something in a video form. You want to like capture videos of one room and then pause it, move the tripod to a different room or different area in the house, and then start the video again. So that is like the pause.
That's good to know. That's what I needed.
Okay. And then the plus button is for, it has different usage depending on the app that you're using. So it could take pictures, capture pictures. It could start and stop video on Pivo Play. And then on Pivo Tour, which is the 3D capturing, the 3D virtual tour, it starts the actual 3D scanning. Alrighty, if you don't have any questions about the remote control, let's talk about connecting the Pivo Pod. So, like I mentioned earlier, there are different, so let's skip that for now, and then so we can download the apps. All right, here's the charging to answer your question earlier, but since we've already discussed that, we can skip it. All right, Pivo apps. So, like I mentioned earlier, there used to be 7 different apps that come with Pivo Pod, but we've combined some of them into these 3 apps so that way you don't have to manage all 7 and you don't get confused which app to use if you're using like a specific feature. So now we only have 3. If you've already downloaded some of them or all 7 of them, you can actually remove them because they're no longer used. They have been discontinued starting is today August. Yeah, it's August 2nd today. So they have been discontinued yesterday. So now we only have Pivo Plus, Pivo Play, and Pivo Tour. And so the Pivo Cast went to Pivo Plus, the Pivo Present went to Pivo Plus, Pivo Studio went to Pivo Play, and Pivo Live went to Pivo Play. So you can remove all 4 different apps, the Present, the Cast, the Live, and the Studio, and just download all 3 of them. I'm going to wait for you. So basically, to download it, if you have an iPhone, just go to App Store and just put in the name of the app as the keyword. And same with if you have an Android. So I'm going to give you a minute or 2 to download it just so you can follow along, because our next topics is going to be the actual usage of the apps.
Can you go back one slide for me so I can take a picture of that?
Which one?
That one.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll send you a copy of the slides anyway, but if you want to take
Oh, you will?
a screenshot
Okay.
of that now, that's fine.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so let's all go ahead and download it if you can. So go to App Store or Google Play Store and then type in Pivo Plus, Pivo Play, and Pivo Tour. Let's all download them all together now. And then if you have Android, just click install. If you have iPhone, just click get. So these are the names of the apps. If we're all done downloading them, then we can open. Our next topic is going to be Pivo Plus. So we can open and register an account with Pivo Plus first. Perfect. Thank you, Zelda. All right. So open Pivo Plus and register an account. If you haven't logged into any apps yet, then you would create and register an account. But if you've already tried like Pivo Tour or Pivo Play, the login credentials are cross apps. I mean, these apps are actually individual apps, so they don't talk to each other, but the login page server is the same. So if you've already logged into Pivo Tour before, you can use the same username and password for Pivo Tour on all three apps. And if you haven't created an account yet, just go ahead and register. If you've already logged in before, just go ahead and log in. And then we can proceed to our next topic. All set?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So now let's go ahead and open Pivo Plus. Assuming you've already logged in, the very first screen that you're going to see is what we call the gallery. Let me see if I have a video here. So that automatically went to photo mode. So I'm not sure if you can see it from my phone, but it's this one, gallery. So basically, gallery is where you can see all of your contents, all of the videos that or pictures that you've created using Pivo Plus. And to connect it, you would just press on. Okay. There you go. All right. Interface is always different. So connecting the Pivo Pod can differ depending on the app that you're using. So with Pivo, there you go. So this is the very first thing that you would see with the dog walking. And to connect your Pivo Pod, so basically you want this thing to talk. You want both of them to communicate. So that's why you're pairing it every usage, every time you're using it. And one more thing I would like to add is because Pivo Pod only has one Bluetooth connection, if you're using two apps simultaneously, it's not going to work. So you would have to, say for instance, you did 3D virtual capturing. So before you use Pivo Plus, if you're going to record videos now that you've created a virtual tour, before you can use it, you would actually need to close the app that you used before completely. So you would have to like swipe up to close it. So now go ahead and click the plus sign in the middle. And Pivo Pod would start looking for the Pivo device. And then you would just put a check mark on the radio button next to the Pivo Pod. You can actually rename your pod. So if there are like many agents in your office that uses pods, you can go ahead and rename yours. That way it's not confusing and you don't connect to other people's devices accidentally. And once it's connected, the very first screen that you're going to see is the actual tracking screen.
Of course, if your pod is dead, it's not going to find it.
Oh, yeah, definitely not. Did yours start blinking red? Then, because that would mean that it's low on battery.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So we can, if you want to, I'm going to send you the recording for the session and the slides. But if you still want me to invite you for next week's session, I can.
Yes, I do. But yes, I'll watch the recording before the session. Thank you.
All right. Of course.
Mine's not pairing at all. I don't know why.
Yours is not pairing. Did you use any apps before?
I don't know. Could be. Do I have to go check both of them and make sure they're turned off? Or?
If you're using iPhone, you can swipe up and then close any of the apps that you use.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been today that I was using them.
Go ahead, Danielle.
Yeah, I'm having the same issue. I've connected mine before in the past, but now it's not connecting at all. So,
Not connecting. Could you try and see if there are any apps? So is your light blinking blue or solid blue?
Solid blue.
That means it's connected to an app. So go ahead and check all of the background apps running. So if it's blinking blue, then that means it's not paired to anything, any app. If it's solid blue, then it means it's paired to something. So find that app that it's connected to.
Mine is blinking.
Yours is blinking. So that definitely means you're good to pair. Could you go ahead and try it again? And
I will.
maybe close Pivo Plus completely first, and
Close
then
it.
try it again.
Close it first.
Yeah,
Okay.
close it and then try it again. And Chris, yes, you can. You can actually use a power bank. So if you're using the smart mount, you can use a power bank with your Pivo Pod. So this charges using the cord. So if your power bank has like a USB port, then you can use it. It's just like using a smartphone. So it uses lithium battery. So just like smartphones. Sorry, who had a question?
I got it connected.
Perfect. All right. So if that happens, it probably means that it thinks that it's connected to something, but it's not. So you could just go ahead and like close everything and then try it again.
Okay.
Daniel, how about yours?
Yeah, I've X'd out of every app. I've swiped up every app and gotten rid of it, like all open apps. But it's still not connecting. But I've connected to this thing months ago. I'm just wondering if it still thinks it's connected. And it's just not showing that it's connected.
So basically, when it connects, you can actually click on the radio button. So Pivo Pod needs to show up on the connecting page. The page that I shown you earlier, this thing here. Right. So after you click on the plus button, there. So this is looking for the Pivo device, and your pod should show up here, there. And then there's a radio button next to it. So the pod needs to show up here. If it's not showing up, then there's something wrong. It's either connected to an app before or like a different app, or there's something wrong with the hardware, the Bluetooth connection.
Okay.
If you can go ahead and troubleshoot, and if it's still not connecting, then send me a message after the session, and we'll go ahead and troubleshoot that. If it still happens, then we'll definitely replace it. Okay, any questions about the connection? Are everyone good? All set? Except Daniel, of course. We'll figure that out in a bit. All set? Okay, out. Okay, so now let's talk about the features within Pivo Plus. So like I said earlier, Pivo Cast and Pivo Present have been combined into Pivo Plus. So what Pivo Plus is basically just your regular camera apps on your phone. So you can take videos with it, you can take pictures with it, and the main difference, I mean, like there are a lot of difference, of course, but like the main one is the auto tracking feature. So what auto tracking is basically Pivo Pod follows you wherever you go. So it's like your own cameraman. So what auto tracking is basically an image detection software. So it tracks based on the shape of the image it can see on the screen. So there are 4 different tracking modes. So we have for human, we have face and body, face, the shape of your face, and then we have body tracking, which is like from your torso all the way up.
Catholic charity, thrift store.
Sorry, was that a question?
Sorry. No, that was my phone.
Okay. Okay, so here you go. The video that I'm showing here is for body tracking. And we also have for equestrian customers, we just thought that it would be
Alert
fun.
from FaceTime. Do you want to upgrade to Wi-Fi call?
Features or other modes, which is like if you're an equestrian on the side, so player realtor, and then your hobbies like car riding horses. We also added horse tracking. And then if you're like a dog lover, if you have many dogs at home, if you want to post your dogs on your social media, then you can definitely use dog tracking. They're currently in beta, but the most important thing are the face and body tracking if you want to use it like for professional setting. So, like I said, it's image detection software. So it needs to see that image or that shape the whole time, the whole duration of your filming. So just to give you a more in-depth explanation what face tracking is, it basically recognizes the shape of the disc. So your eyebrows, your eyes, the shape of your mouth, your nose combined together. So basically, when you're filming, this space, this shape right here needs to be on the screen the whole time. So you can do this while you're filming. You can walk around as long as you don't look away, because essentially, if you're looking away, it can't see the shape of your, it can see your hair, the shape of your head, but it can't see this shape anymore. So that's why we always recommend using the body tracking instead of face tracking, because body tracking, it's this shape, 2 hands, 2 legs, 1 torso, and then the shape of like a circular head. So even if you look on the example here, even if she turns around, as long as nothing would block the shape of her body, stay the shape of her feet. So say, for example, you're using body tracking and then you pass by like a countertop. So that would block the lower part of your body and it can only see the upper part. So that is going to confuse Pivo and it might lose tracking. And then you can press, who asked about the letter M on the remote control earlier. And then you can press the letter M on the remote control, free yourself, go to like an opener area where the whole shape of your body is now seen. Then you can press on the M button to reset tracking and it would automatically follow again. So just a reminder, it needs to see the shape of whatever you are tracking the whole time. So let's go to navigation, just so I can show you where to click, where to go, or to create or do tracking mode. So this is the very first thing that you're going to see when you're doing filming. And then I mentioned something about the modes earlier. So we had photo mode, which was the very first one. And then we have video modes. So let's skip that. Let's go to video mode first. Okay. All right. So once you're on video mode, it's at the very bottom. Once your pod is already connected. So at the very bottom, click on video mode at the very bottom. And then we're just showing you here the navigation. There you go. Click on the video mode. And then you would click here where it says dog to select the tracking that you want to select. So once you click that, it would show up all tracking modes available. So we have face, body, horse, and dog. So for this example, since we're just sitting in front of your Pivo Pods, let's go ahead and click face. All right, so let's skip that for now. So let's go ahead and click face, and then let's move our heads and just see if Pivo Pod follows you.
Don't have it on.
All good? Pivo Pod following?
Yep.
All right, and if you're able to stand up, you can just check on body tracking just to make sure everything is on the up and up. You could select body tracking and then like move around, see if it follows you. And then you can also adjust the speed for how fast your Pivo Pod rotates. So next to the red circle in the middle, there's a thing that called setting. And then on the tracking speed, you can actually just drag on your finger, just drag it. So slow is for like really, really slow. I think it's like 30-second rotation. So that's not gonna keep up with you, especially if you're moving. Your pace is a lot faster. So on like the setting that would recommend the most is normal and fast. This is for when you like your regular movements. You're not running. So do fast and then like tilt your head again, and it should follow you a lot smoother. Any questions about auto tracking?
And Elmar, of course, whatever setting you put there for the video, that is regardless if it's face, dog, horse, or full body, right? That's the same setting. Normal will be for all of those.
Yes,
types of
basically. So, if you're an equestrian, then you can of course, because horses are faster, you can of course opt for like the turbo. That's for like galloping of the horse. And if you're like filming when you're running, then you could also adjust it. But if you're just like as a real estate agent, I think the most basic or the most tracking speed that you are going to be using is fast and normal, because in most cases you're just going to be like walking, like facing while you're talking to your camera. And then before you shoot your video, before you start recording, you can decide whether or not you are going to be facing your camera. So you can either use body or face tracking. And then another thing that I forgot to mention is the lock-on mode. This only works on on body tracking, so not on face tracking. So basically, in real estate like industry, it's very common that you would be amongst your other agents. So there would be like ribbon cutting, there would be like conferences, and sometimes you would want to film yourself talking in front of this many people, and we can't avoid like other people walking behind you, walking in front of you. So we've developed lock-on tracking. So it's final version on iOS and it's Android and beta. So what it basically does is you can actually lock the tracking just to focus on you. So if you're in a ribbon cutting, there are a lot of people or agents behind you, and you can't make them go away so you can film your video. You could just click this little lock icon here at the top, and then press on yourself. So you can now start filming, even when there are people walking behind or in front of you. Any questions about lock-on tracking? So this only works on body tracking, not on face, because faces is hard to detect. So human shape, I mean, like the body, can be easier because of the clothing, like the height. So it can be like a lot easier to like distinguish and lock. But with faces, it's a lot difficult. So we haven't developed lock-on tracking on face yet. All right, so that is video mode. So basically what you can do here is film yourself. You can do long form video, you can do short form video, you can do videos for your Instagram. You could like basically so this is just like an upgrade. So what most agents would normally do is just film their phone. They would hold their phone, put their phone on their desk, and they can start talking. So this is just like an upgrade. Looks more professional. So you can walk around and like people would think that there's like a cameraman, so the cameraman following you, but it's just your Pivo Pod. So like credibility, basically. So like, this person knows what she's talking about because her camera moves and it follows her. Basically something like that. So it's more fun to shoot. So yeah, so starting now, since you already have this device with you and we already like, the settings and all that. So starting now, you can already start shooting your videos that you would upload to your social media in this manner. You can just have Pivo Pod follow you, and it actually rotates 360 degrees. So you can like, while you're talking about like inflation, I don't know what, I'm not sure about like the social media. There's a zoom in and zoom out capability. Yes, Chris. So essentially, Pivo Pod automatically keeps you 10% on the screen. So if you go too far, it would automatically zoom. So you can actually turn on that feature by clicking on settings and just toggle on, make it red, the auto zoom. So it always keeps you 10% on this size on the screen. So if you go
Which
too
one
close,
is that? I'm sorry. Which one is auto zoom?
you click on setting next to the red circle in the middle. Auto zoom it says auto zoom there. Just toggle on.
Oh, yeah, mine's on. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, perfect. So it keeps you 10% on the screen. So if you go too close to your Pivo Pod, it would automatically zoom out. And if you go too far, it would automatically zoom in. Okay, any questions about video mode? So that's basically video mode. All good?
Yep.
Okay. And instead of you clicking the plus button to start capturing your video, you can actually click the plus button on the remote control, and that would automatically start. And then if you click plus again, it would stop the video. So you can actually start recording even when you're away from your phone. So you don't have to go back and forth to your phone to like cut videos and like stitch that together. So you could just do that away from your phone. All right, so that's video mode. Now we're going to talk about photo mode. So photo mode is the mode before video. So it's at the very bottom, click on that. So it is basically just like shooting pictures, capturing pictures on your smartphone. But the only differences, the main difference is we made it easier for you. So like I said earlier, we normally rely on 10-second timer on your smartphones, or we would have someone take the picture for us. But that someone cannot be there for like 30 minutes while you're taking videos and making sure that the capture is like on the up and up for you, for your eyes. So removing that like awkwardness and removing the hassle of you going back and forth from your phone and wherever, like the position where you ever want to take the picture, we've developed photo mode. So photo mode is essentially you can control the panning of your smartphone. So you could just put the smartphone on the Pivo Pod. You could press the arrows on like in the circle to make Pivo Pod follow you. And then you could actually capture using the plus button. So you can use the front camera, or if you have like if you want to see yourself in a bigger screen, you can, if you have iPhone and MacBook, you can AirPlay. That way you can see it on like a bigger screen, because essentially smartphone screens are small. And if you're filming like very far from the phone, you wouldn't see yourself and you wouldn't see your positioning. So you would just use the remote control and continue clicking on the plus, and that would capture the pictures. So that removes the relying on timer. That avoids having someone not be in the picture because she's the one taking or he's the one taking the picture. So all of you can be in the picture together.
How do you do AirPlay again?
AirPlay is on the settings of your phone. So click on, I'm not sure on all iPhones. So you would swipe up from the, what do you call that? The top of your phone. And then there's like two monitors. It's this. You see this? Oh, there. Where is it? This one here.
It's okay. I'll figure it out later. Thank you.
I can actually send you instructions from YouTube if you want.
Oh, that'll be great.
Okay, I can do that.
Me too, please. Kelly Martin. Thank you, dear.
All right, you're welcome. And Kelly was the other one?
Kelly, yes.
And Zelda.
Oh, Zelda, gotcha. All right. So you could use that. It's just more, it's more convenient. And yeah, you can take as many pictures as you want.
Great.
You want to, I got my iPad and things following.
I'm picking on you, Elmar.
So you can't open the remote control. It has a tab.
Yeah, it won't open. I can't get it open, but I'll have to play with it after this and just watch your video and start over.
Okay. All right. So
I at least got the pod charged and it's following me all over the place. So it's like, okay. You will tell us how to stop it, right?
Okay. So yeah, you could probably, so since this is recorded, you can follow it. And if you still need to like have a one-on-one session, we can see if I can schedule it.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Get Pivo, yes. It's Get Pivo. All right, so that's photo mode. And meet mode used to be Pivo Cast. It used to be a separate app called Pivo Cast, but we've combined it here just so you don't have to, because it uses auto tracking anyway. So our engineers thought that maybe just combine it with Pivo Plus because it's basically the same. It's just different usage. So Pivo Cast or Pivo Meet mode is basically a one-on-one call. So combining the photo mode with like your regular FaceTime or your like say for instance you have an interested buyer but they're in a different state and they can't meet with you in person. They can go to the open house. So what you can do is set up a one-on-one video call with the auto tracking features. If you click on Meet mode at the very bottom next to video, there's an invite button there. So what the invite button does is you can share it to anyone. It's just like a Google Meet call. So Pivo Pod, you could position your phone in a tripod in the middle of the room somewhere, and you can actually have a conversation online with someone on the call, just like FaceTime or Google Meet or Zoom or Skype. But this time, Pivo Pod is following you. So you have your own cameraman. And then the good thing about this is if you click on the Meet mode, there's a guest control. So it's the link is just like Meet. They don't necessarily have to log into Pivo. They don't necessarily have to have a Pivo account. They don't need to have a Pivo device. They can just open the link on any browser. All browsers I think are supported. And then you can have guest control. So instead of Pivo Pod just following you wherever you go, you can have guest control and the guest can actually swipe on the screen and they can rotate and pan the Pivo Pod on their own. All right, so to do that, to get the invite link, just click on invite. And then once you join the session, you get like the invite and would go red. And then you can click on that. And then it would automatically, it's still the same process. You can select the tracking mode before you actually start the session, the call. So go to the tracking mode. If you want to use body, you can use body, you can use face. And then you can check on the settings before you start that. And then you can turn on guest control. Turn on means it's not red. And then if it's red, your guest cannot control the screen. So you always want to go set that red. And then once all set, the person that you're inviting has joined, you can start the session. You can start the call. So like a lot of people are asking me if it can be recorded. At the moment, not yet, but we're working on the recording. So that is Meet mode. So this is just for one-on-one call. If you want to give it a try now, if you have someone with you, you can invite that person and see if it works for you. Or maybe in a later after the session, you could give it a try. If you have two devices, you could give it a try yourself. All right, so that's Meet mode. It's one-on-one. So my webcam mode is essentially basically the same, but the difference is it's for like a huge participant like this. So you're in a Zoom call, you're having to share your screen. So with the Meet mode, you can't share screen. It's just you and the other person talking to each other. But the webcam mode, you're actually like in a Zoom like group setting like this. So there's a screen sharing, and then I want myself to be seen on the screen as well while I'm walking around. Then you can use webcam mode. So webcam mode is a little bit trickier to set up because you need a third-party application. You would want, because basically what you're going to do with webcam mode is you're going to, instead of you using your, like what I'm doing right now, instead of me using my laptop's camera as my camera and be sit here still, I can use my phone as a camera and I'm free to walk around because it's like on top of the Pivo Pod. So what you would want to do is make sure that your laptop and your phone communicates to each other, if that makes sense. So you can select it, when you're like, normally when you're doing a Zoom, you can select which camera to use, right? So since your phone is already connected to your laptop, given we went through that phase or that process, then you can select your phone as a camera and then it would start following you. So I'm going to send you a link how to set that up. So it's basically a third-party free program that we would want you to install called NDI. It's free. We provide it. You would just have to follow the instructions that we provide, and then you would connect your laptop and your phone. And then it's just easy peasy. It's the same as the setting when you're on Zoom. You would just select your Pivo Pod as the camera, and that's it. You would just join a call like this if you're the host. So this would only work if you're the host, essentially, because you're going to be the one presenting. So your phone, your screen share is going to be shown like that, and your picture is here, and it like follows you. And then you can select with webcam mode. You can select whether you want your face to be seen the whole time, if you want to be just like a little video on the side, and then you can also present with like a big whiteboard behind you because it has auto tracking and can follow you around. Any questions about Pivo? So that's Pivo Plus. Any questions
No.
about Pivo
Not
Plus?
yet. Too many.
All right. I'm ready to answer questions before we proceed to Pivo Play. All set? No? All right, let's go ahead and talk about Pivo Play. So we don't actually have time to talk about Pivo Play because this alone would take about an hour. That's why we have an advanced session on it. So the first session that we're doing on Pivo Play Advanced is going to be Wednesday next week. So same time, Wednesday next week. If you want me to invite you, just go ahead and type in your email here in the chat. So Pivo Play is essentially just what you're seeing here on the screen. And you can actually also do live streaming on Pivo Play. But I just don't have time to talk about it because we still have Pivo Tour. So Pivo Play is basically, most of the features available in Pivo Play are green screen effects. So it's the green screen effects that you can find in TikTok. Like if you're an avid TikTok user, you've probably seen like some videos like this and videos like this. So what we did is basically just made it a lot easier for you. Because what the TikTok creators do is just shoot normal videos on their smartphone, and they would spend minutes, like hours, on a third-party device or a third-party application just to create videos like this. But with Pivo, you can actually just shoot the video and you can just freeze. So it's basically a lot easier and it's quicker to make. Got it? Fairly advanced. All right, so that's Pivo Play. We don't have time to talk about it, but if you have any questions about Pivo Play before the advanced session, I'm free to answer them now, and then we're gonna talk about Pivo Tour. Okay.
A quick question.
Go ahead.
What's the difference between webcam and just video? Because it looks like the effect, what you do is the same. Am I wrong?
Yes. So webcam mode is basically for a Zoom call like this, a group setting online with a lot of people in the call. So what's going to happen is we're going to have you install NDI on your computer. And then if you're in a group call like this, you can select your Pivo app as your camera. So the only difference is you can select with webcam mode. It's basically just like auto tracking. It's basically just like video mode. But you can select this if you open webcam, you can select it as your camera for Teams call, for Zoom calls, for like Google Meet calls. So you're free to, like when you're presenting in a group setting like this, you can walk around freely if you want to do it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All good? All right. Okay, so just really quickly, these are the modes or the features available on Pivo Play. So we have multi-stream. So multi-stream is what used to be Pivo Live. So what you can do here is set up like multi-streaming within other apps, and then of course the auto tracking feature. So of course you can go live streaming straight to the app that you want to use. Say for instance you want to live stream on Pivo on Facebook. So you can definitely do that, but the main thing is utilizing the auto tracking feature. So you're free to walk around. No problem. Plus, but play one, find my device. Okay, Chris, you would have to close Pivo Plus. Oh, yeah. Because it only uses one Bluetooth connection, so you would have to close it every time. And then Panorama, and then Mini-Me, that what I showed you earlier, and then Flash. So if you want to be invited to the next session, the advanced session, we actually go through all of this. Like how to create it, what it is, use cases. And then with here, there's also auto zoom, there's also capture modes, and this is for no tracking. So there's no one seen on the screen. It's not tracking you. It's basically for when you want to film the house. So like you want to film the outside, the inside, you move the tripod, you pause, then like instead of you stitching videos together. So that's Pivo Play. Any questions about Pivo Play before we proceed? So I think everyone is excited about Pivo Tour. All good? All right, so now we can close Pivo Play and let's open Pivo Tour together. All right, so every time you open Pivo Tour, assuming you've already logged in, it's gonna always pop up the what are you using Pivo Tour for? So it's for our marketing team, and unless you answer it, it's always gonna pop up. You can always skip it, but so that you don't have to say it again when you open Pivo Tour again, then just go ahead and answer it. It's just for marketing purposes. It's not for like anything else. All right. So the very first screen that you're going to see once you log in is this. Are we following?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So we have drafts, private, public folder. So these are just the tours that you've already created. So draft is where all of your unfinished tours would sit. So say, for example, you started creating a tour for one property, but you got called on to a meeting. So it's going to sit in your draft. So basically, if the tour is still in draft, then you can still edit it. You can still add capture points. You can still add rooms. You can still edit the capture points. You can still retake it. You can do everything because it's still in draft. But once you upload it and it goes to private, you can't edit it anymore. You can change it. You can change the name. You can change anything on the tour. So just beware. So in draft, when you're creating a tour, there's at the very bottom, there's a word upload. When you're creating you open one specific tour, there's a word upload. So upload, finish is when you're done like doing capture points for the day. Upload is when you're actually uploading it into the server. Then that means you cannot touch it anymore. So just beware of the word upload because upload means you're ready to publish it. Right? So you can interchange public and private. So private is basically just all the tours that you've created, finished, but you're not ready to share to the public yet. So basically tours that like you're waiting for ribbon cutting or you're waiting to sign a contract or whatever reason why you don't want to share it to anyone yet. It's going to sit in private. And public is like tours that are like open in the MLS or you've shared to like a specific buyer, but it's not listed somewhere. But if the house is sold, you can then put it to private so you can interchange public and private, but not draft to private or draft to public or vice versa. Okay, so at the very bottom, you would see My Tours. My Tours is basically this dashboard. And then your public tours is going to be listed here. And then Create Tour is where you would pair the remote control. But let's skip that for now. Let's go to settings. So here on the screen share that I'm sharing, we have what we call the contact profile. So if you're just sharing it, not in the MLS, because in the MLS, you have your own like contact information. But if you're just sharing it as a link like this to someone, then you can add your contact information just so you have the person that got this link would know who it's from. And then you can also add listing details, but we'll tackle that in a bit. So here, if you click on settings and then contact profile, you can actually add a lot of information, your photo, your name, your email, your Facebook, LinkedIn, and a little description about yourself. You can skip that. You don't have to fill that out. But if you want to, just so you have like a complete and good looking tour that you can share it to anyone, then just fill it out. And then let's go talk about capture settings. So if you click on that, I don't have a screenshot after that, but if you click on the capture settings, it would actually show you the 3D capture. So 3D capture is basically this, the 3D dollhouse. And one more thing I would like to mention is if you bought it from a convention, I'm not sure if you've been told that this feature here, the dollhouse feature, is limited to only smartphones that has LiDAR scanner. Have you been told about that?
No.
No? Okay. All right. So what smartphone models do you all have?
14.
I have
iPhone Pro, perfect.
Pixel 7
Anyone
Pro.
Pro, perfect. Anyone here using Android?
Yes.
You have an
Hey,
Android?
Daniel. Yes.
Daniel. Okay. What Android phone do you have?
I have a Google Pixel Pro, Pixel 7 Pro.
Okay.
And I have a OnePlus.
So Pro. Okay. And you don't have iPhones? No. Okay. All right. So basically, what happened was this imaging right here is created by a built-in feature on your smartphone. So this is not created by Pivo Tour. Pivo Tour can't do that. So it's basically the imaging software built in or present on your smartphone. And the imaging software that we're using is LiDAR scanner. It's called LiDAR. I'm going to type it here. There, LiDAR. So the smartphone that has LiDARs, unfortunately, are only iPhone Pros and Pro Maxes. So the problem is, Samsung used to have it, Google used to have it, but they've released news a couple months ago that LiDAR is too expensive for them to manage. So they removed it from their smartphone. So right now, the only smartphones that has LiDAR scanner are iPhones. I think iPhone bought it. That's why all of the Android, because Samsung, Google, they all removed it all at the same time. And they're developing their own imaging software called Tor, I think, TOR. So our engineers are looking into making that compatible with Pivo. But for now, unfortunately, those who have Daniel and Zelda, you unfortunately will not get the dollhouse feature, but you're going to get this, the 3D and everything else. Only the dollhouse feature, because this is created by LiDAR, which is not present on your smartphones at the moment, unfortunately. But you're going to get this, the floor plan. This is automatically generated once you create the capture points. And there will also be measurements here available. And then you get the actual 2D captures. This one's here. You get everything except this view right here. Okay, now going back. So basically, all right, let's talk about the actual capturing. So let's go and open Pivo Tour, all of us, please. So the 3D capture, so except for Daniel and Zelda, go ahead and turn
Zelda
on.
has iPhone.
Sorry?
I'm Zelda. I have iPhone. So
Oh, you
no
have.
problem.
Oh, who was that other one that said they have OnePlus?
I do. So lunch.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry, I thought that was all the. Okay, but like I mentioned earlier, our engineers are already looking into. So I think Google and the OnePlus have all Tor built in on their phones, and our engineers are working on that. And hopefully, in the next few weeks and months, maybe we'll already gonna get the dollhouse feature. All right, so going back. All right, so let's all turn on 3D capture, 3D mount guide, and Pivo tripod since we all are using Pivo devices under capture settings. So go to settings, capture settings, turn that on. If you want to use the dollhouse feature, you can just turn that on. And then let's all click on create capture right here, create tour, if you can still see my screen. Right here, create tour. Click on that and then connect your Pivo Pod. Make sure it's still on. Bluetooth is still on. And you're not paired with any of the previous apps that we've used before. All right, so the very first thing that you would see once you click pair and you're logged in is the do's and don'ts. So let's talk about it real quick. Are you on that screen now? The yellow before you start?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So the very first thing there is optimized lighting. So basically, the pictures or the images that Pivo Tour is stitching together to create that little beautiful house tour are 360 panoramic images. So because there's still images, you want to make sure that you optimize lighting because you don't want the sunlight beaming from one window and then your inside light like really, really bright inside because that's going to make your Pivo Tour, if you can see like here in the example, that looks unprofessional. You don't want any of your buyers seeing that. So you would want to close, or you could either close the curtains or open it wide, just so your lighting inside the house is equal and balanced all throughout. So you just don't want to see the shadows. So that's number one. You optimize the lighting. You make sure that all of the lightings inside are bright, just so the shadows inside, like from the outside, wouldn't reflect inside. So turn on all of the lights and then number two is remove distractions. You don't want any moving or flickering objects because they're still images, they're not videos. So if there are like especially with the big ceiling fans, if it's rotating and if the Pivo Pod captures that once it's doing the 360 scan, it's gonna look like jiggery image because it's still. And then beware of any movements. You also don't want to be seen on the screen. So just make sure that you use the remote control to start the capture, the plus. This is the capture, the plus sign. Or you could just rotate with your tripod because the Pivo Pod would do capture points, would do a scan 25 degrees per rotation. So it would do that and then would rotate. So you could rotate with it or you could just be out of the room. All right, so that's number one. And then number two is the distance between points. So let's go back to our example here. So this is the tour that we've created. So basically, we want to do 6 feet of the capture points every time. And we want to do, all right, so do you see the examples in the second slide after before you start the yellow? Now we're on the light green ones. So the distance between capture points. Sorry, was there any question?
No, go ahead.
Okay, all right. So basically, if you're doing capture points, so capture points are there's circles right here. So this is where the tripod stood to do a 360 scan of the property. So that means the tripod stood here, did a 360 scan, tripod stood here, and you would actually see what the 360 scan would look like if you do this. So that is the 360 scan of this capture point right here. And if you click on this, you would see the capture point by just going like this. That is the 360 still image of the house. And this is what we meant by the shadow. If the lights inside are super bright, the shadows from the outside is not going to beam through. So make sure that all of your lights are turned on when you're creating. That's one of the do's. And then capture between between rooms, the capture points. So basically, like I said, these are capture points. That the tripod stood here to do a 360 scan. And you can actually decide how many capture points you want to do per room, depending on what's inside it. So example number 1, the mint green, the topmost on the example on your screen on the smartphone, on the pop-ups. So that one, if you would notice, there's only 2 dots, 2 capture points. That is because there are no big objects inside that frame. So basically, Pivo would stitch together images or areas that it sees. So one good example here is the kitchen. So if you do a 360 scan here, let's do here. All right, so Pivo would do a 360 scan here. And because the big table is blocking the way, Pivo doesn't know what it looks like behind that table. So in the example number 2 on before you start on your smartphone, on the bigger room, the yellow one, there are 5 capture points there because there's a big table behind, or there's a big table in the entry point. So there needs to be another capture point that sees what's behind the table. So that would be this. So you would want to do a capture point that sees all of the... Does my explanation make sense? I can put it into better words. Okay. So basically, the capture points needs to see all areas, all corners of the house. So if you do a capture point here, because Pivo doesn't know what it looks like behind this chair, you would want to do another capture point here. And Pivo would actually ask you to do capture points every 6 feet. And the reason for that is some smartphones don't have good, like really, really good camera lenses. And if you don't do another capture point here, so this is the main capture point. And if you don't do another capture point here, what your user is going to see is that big, like really, really small chunk of room there. So people would want to see another capture point here just so it's clear. And so you can see that there. So it basically just wants you to go closer to the object. And the good thing about Pivo is if you skip to the next, all right, so you can just get started. And then on the next screen, it's actually going to show you the actual capturing page. So if you turn on the grid, you would see here 0 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet. So Pivo requires you to do capture point every 6 feet. So once you go past 5 feet, Pivo Pod would actually beep and would remind you that, hey, you went past the required capture point. So it's going to tell you that you need to do capture points there again. And then another thing, another do's and don'ts that I would like to mention is okay, let me put here. So on the floor plan that you're creating, that Pivo stitches together, people would know that this small capture point here is inside the bedroom there, and this capture point here is inside the kitchen, and this capture point here is inside the bathroom, inside the kitchen there, is through the built-in GPS on your smartphone. So if you noticed earlier, once you logged in, it asked if you would allow it to use the GPS, and this is because of this. So the reason I'm mentioning this is because you don't want to interrupt the GPS communication or connection between your Pivo Pod and the Pivo Tour. So when you're using Pivo Tour to capture points, you'd want to make sure that you turn on your airplane mode. So that way, no notification would come in, or your do not disturb mode on, because applications like incoming calls that uses GPS. So if you're capturing, so the communication between your smartphone and the Pivo Pod is like there, but if the incoming call comes in, a call comes in, that GPS would automatically go to call. So when you go back to Pivo Tour after the call, since it has been interrupted, your GPS might be all over the place. So if you do capture points, say for instance, you're at point 10. So your point 11 that you captured might bring you here somewhere. So that's going to be like confusing to the person that is going to view their tour. So just make sure that when you're capturing this is, I think, 40 capture points. And if you mastered it, this is only going to take you 30 minutes to make. So just turn on, so that way you don't have to redo capture points, like close your, because if an incoming call comes in, if a Facebook message comes in, Instagram, all of those apps, especially your banking app, all of those use GPS. So you don't want any of those notifications coming in while you're doing this. So that way you don't have to reset everything, redo everything from scratch. Just make sure that you turn on your Bluetooth, your auto, what do you call that? Do not disturb.
Hey, Al.
Yes?
And
Oh,
so I
thank
can't do any of this because I have a Google phone. Is that what you're saying?
You can definitely do it. The only thing that you wouldn't get is this.
I wouldn't get that. Okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't
Are
get
you all-
it, but all of the rest, everything else, you're gonna get. And the only reason behind that is because your phone doesn't have a LiDAR scanner that is the one creating this imaging.
Okay. So will you all be offering a class just on this then at some point?
Yes, I have a
Okay.
Pivo Tour advanced class every Wednesday of every week. So starting next week, we're moving the Pivo 101 to Tuesday, and we have advanced session every Wednesday. We have advanced session in Pivo Plus, but Pivo Plus you don't actually do advanced because that's it. Pivo Plus is that. So we do Pivo. We combine Pivo Play and Pivo Tour Advance every Wednesday. If you want to join that, I can invite you. And Chris, I'll invite you. I'll send you the video definitely.
Okay.
Right. So I'll invite everyone. You could just reject it if you don't want to join, but we'll definitely discuss this in depth. So going back, these are the capture points. So turn on your, if you want to do it with me right now, if you start moving, so going back here, so this little circle here is basically where you are. This is you. This is an avatar of you on your screen. So if you start moving, you would notice that that screen or this little circle here is going to move as well. And there's going to be like dotted lines that would follow it. So that is basically the pod. People were telling you that, okay, you've already created capture point here, move to whichever direction you want to go. And then these are the points that you're missing. All right. Another point that I would like to add is you're basically creating a capture points just like you're walking inside a property. So you want to create capture points of every entryway. You don't want to teleport from one room to another. You definitely want to do like create capture points of the hallway because essentially, like I mentioned earlier, Pivo just stitches together images that it sees. So if you can see here on the example, so this little blank spaces here are images that there wasn't a capture point created on. So it's just going to leave it like this. So I think this is like the closet. And I think this is another closet right here. This is the closet of the master bedroom. And because the person that created this tour didn't create or didn't do capture points here, it's just going to leave it blank. So you don't want that to happen to your Pivo tours. So you would want to make sure that you create capture points of every entryway. So it's not necessarily for you to have this many, but you definitely want to do at least 3 here on the hallway every 6 feet. And then 1 entryway here. And then if there are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rooms, then you want to create entry points of 5 rooms. So 5 entry points and then at least 2 inside. So the master bedroom is a pretty big and the beds, there's actually 3 beds. So you want to do capture point here in the middle of the bed and there in the middle. And then there as well, like here, because Pivo Tour wouldn't know what it looks like if you don't create a capture point here. But in spaces like this small, just create 2, just 1 here and then 1 there, just so it sees behind the bed. And then here, Same thing, one capture point of the entryway, one here, and then one there. And then this is way too many. So just create a capture point here and then behind the chair here somewhere. You don't have to create this many. So the person that created this, because it's our tour and it's our example, they just wanted to make sure that all points are seen. All right. Any questions?
Nope.
No? All good? All right. So that's basically it. And then we have a Pivo Tour desktop. I'm going to send you this so you don't have to copy it. I'm going to send you the slides. We have a tour app. So all of your capture points, all of the captures will definitely be done through your smartphone because your camera is on the smartphone. But after you capture them and after you upload them, you can actually view them on your computer. So you would just go on like any browser, open this. So all of your drafts isn't viewable here because basically draft needs to be linked. Do you have to log out in settings for Pivo Tour for setting app? Could you clarify what you mean? For app, do you have to log out in settings for app? Yes, you would have to log out. And you don't have to log out. You just have to close it in order
Okay,
to...
thank you. Sorry, I didn't know I was on mute. Yeah, that was my question. Do you have to log out or you just...
No, you
close
don't
it?
have to log out. You just have to close it in order for you to use the next app.
Very good. Thank you.
Right. So again, on Pivo Tour desktop app, you can view your private and public folders or tours. But obviously, you're not going to be able to view your drafts here because it is linked to your camera. All right, so we're done. Any
I have
questions?
one
Do you
small
need-
question.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so to be able to, when we do the tours on the phone, then you said we have to upload it to something?
So it gets uploaded to a server. You'll get a link.
Okay.
So once it's uploaded to our server, and it's an unlimited server, all of you gets unlimited access. So you can create thousands, hundreds of tours, as many as you want. It's unlimited. And we cover it. You don't have to pay for it additional. So once you upload it to the server, you get a link like this, and you can actually embed this link. This is HTML iframe. So you can embed this to your website. You can embed this. You can add this to your MLS. So MLS, obviously, you don't want the Pivo Tour. You can't add any like promotions. Can add any logos there. So you would have to generate an MLS or white label link. So it would basically remove our logo there, our branding. But if you're just uploading it to your website, you're posting it on your social media, you're sending it to somebody, you'll get a link like this. But the tour, once you've uploaded it, will be into the server and it wouldn't be deleted unless you delete it from your app yourself.
Okay, so when you log into you're going to send us how to get this app on our computers,
Mm-hmm.
and that video will already be in there.
Yes.
Okay.
Only the ones that you've uploaded, only the privates and the publics. The drafts, meaning the tours that you are working on that you haven't finished creating yet, it's going to sit in the drafts folder on your phone only because you need your camera to finish those.
Okay.
All right. And I will, like I said, I will invite everyone to the advanced session. And Holly, I don't think I have because Cher was the only one I've invited. And I think Cher invited you. Solange, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. And then we have Karen. So if you want me to invite all of you, I can, like, if you could just type in your email here, please. Everyone that joined without the email invitation, please type in your
Your
email.
email is in the chat. Do you see it, Elmar?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. And you could probably type in Karen's as well, since she didn't join. So I can also send her the recording and the slides.
Okay, let me find her. Hang on a minute.
All right. So the advanced session in Pivo Tour, so that would be like we basically tackled everything already. So the advanced session is just for like Q&A session. So if you like, my assignment for you all is just to try it on, just learn as much as you can. And then with the advanced session, we'll probably have to repeat some of the points here, but we basically tackled everything already. So the advanced session is just me answering your questions, ones that you've like had troubles with, your obstacles. And then are probably gonna have more examples.
Well, this is Zelda. I have a question. In order to see the tour on your Mac or desktop, whatever, do you have to download the app on the Mac?
No, it's a link. It's just like using Facebook on your app or YouTube. So you just open this link. It's going to be on the slides that I'll be sending you in a bit. So tour, I could probably just copy this and paste it.
No. I mean my own. If I just did the first floor of my house,
Mm-hmm.
and if I wanted to see it on my Mac, how do I do that? Because
Okay,
there's
so once you open, or did you upload it already? Is it ready?
no. Oh, I need to upload.
You would have to upload it, yes. So once you're finished, since it's just an example, you could just click on finish and upload. Once it's uploaded, you can open that link or you can open that tour and then just click on the share button.
I see.
The share button, you would get a link that you can send to yourself, or you could just open straight on the browser on your smartphone.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Before we go, I think we went past our scheduled time, but do you have any other questions?
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Alrighty. Thank you, everyone. See you next week. And if you have any questions, you have my contact information, just shoot me a message, give me a call. But I'm not very, I don't answer a lot of calls much because I'm always on a webinar like this. But just send me a text message, send me an email. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Bye, everyone. Nice seeing you here. Bye-bye.